All right, everyone. Thank you, first of all, for being here. I'll kind of come back to that in a second, but I'm Jennifer Knowles. I work with Human Resources Department, and I focus on working with teachers, particularly new teachers, and I lead Whole Teacher, Well Teacher sessions. I also work with lead mentors in the district on leading with authenticity, not to mention a lot of other things that I do in the district, focusing on mindfulness practices, wellness practices. So I'm really honored to be able to play with this online PD. And today our focus is on the stress management series. And our first session is around building awareness of emotions. So, I was really nervous when I was coming onto this. I was feeling nervous and I was texting with one of my best friends, and she texted me back. She said, if you have hiccups, don't worry. Perfection is boring. So, cheers to messing up. I also just wanted to mention and put out there that I taught in Hamilton County schools for several years before I took this work on full time. So the purpose of our session today is to support you during this time of navigating like a new normal, getting used to this long experience that we're having. It takes time. It can be frustrating. It can be anxious or anxietous and stressful. And so this time with me is meant to give you structured opportunity for slowing down, gaining some understanding around ourselves, and get some tools, and maybe even creating a sense of calm for yourself, maybe even a sense of empowerment when we talk about emotions, and hopefully carrying that with you into your real-time life. And so that's our purpose for today. The layout, this session is a recorded version, and we're kind of just working out all the kinks. And so I'm just really grateful for the people on this call who are taking time out of their Sunday to be with us, to give us feedback so that each time is better and more purposeful for anyone who's watching. And so I want to thank everybody on this call. I'm so grateful for you being here in this virtual room. And so over the next few weeks, we're going to do live sessions moving forward. So there will not be recordings sent out initially. So the next session, and I'll talk about this again later, will be Wednesday at 3. That will be the next session that will be live. And so what will happen is if you can't make it, no big deal. We'll record it. We'll send it out. If you want to watch it later, that's fine. We all have lives that we have to take care of. But I just wanted to put that out there that's the next live session. How we're going to roll this time out is we're going to start with a sit to settle, and I'll talk and explain more of that in a second. We'll do some reflection time, talk about a specific topic, this time being emotions, give you some takeaway practices, and then a Q&A session. So if there's anybody on the call that wants to peace out, once the Q&A session hits, that's totally fine. So I will tell you that you will need paper and a writing utensil. So just know that with me, whenever you're with me, you might as well just have some paper and pencils. So get up, take a minute to get that if you are up and willing to like play with this. I don't want to force anybody to do anything you don't want to do. This is all an invitation, but I will be inviting some writing. So, and reflection is really important of building awareness and understanding of yourself so that you can be better for you and others. And so that's why it's really important to me. We'll also be jotting down some other things throughout this session, just little bitty things here and there. So it will help to have paper. My kids are in the background. I hope I asked them to be quiet, but I can hear them. So I'm just saying that because it's real life, right? Like we all have people around us, possibly pets. And so like, I just want you to know that I'm with all of you on that. I didn't send my family away to do this because I wanted it to be as authentic and real as possible. And Erin Kirby is on the call. She's my partner in crime in this. She's the manager of our Zoom calls.
That's very official.
I know. I was actually going to give you executive director title. Is that okay with you?
Oh.
So what she and I are going to do is there's a chat box. I think a lot of you are familiar with Zoom at this point. So, there's a chat option down on the bottom. If you have any questions, comments during or throughout, clarifications that are needed. Erin, do you want to speak a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So I've gotten to hear this particular piece that we're about to explore a couple of times, and I'll be perfectly honest with you. If I was hearing it for the first time, it would probably stir up some vulnerable emotions. And I'm okay. I'm kind of an open book, but not everybody in this group may be the same way as me. So what we wanted to do was honor that vulnerability that we're asking you to kind of put out there, but still put a little bit of boundary and parameter around it. So only I can see the chat box. So if anyone types anything, it's just going to come to me, and I'll keep up with it. And if it's something that we need to address privately later on through follow-up, that's okay. But if it's Penny's telling me to speak up. See, did anybody else see that? No, very private, except I called her out on it. I won't do that for anyone else. But if the question, if it comes up in what we're doing, then I might jump in and say, hey, there was a question. But if it's something that's a little bit sensitive, obviously I won't refer to you, just to protect your vulnerability and give you the space just to be as open as you feel like you need to be for this.
All right. So without further ado, let's get started on the sit to settle. So we're going to start with a sit to settle our minds. When we feel more settled and more calm, we're more open to listening, to learning, and to self-reflection. And so this is just a way to build our focus on like what's happening right now. It's also a really great thing to do in general in your life, whether you're switching from like work mode to home mode or going from one activity to the next. Just so that we're not kind of going through these things unaware of ourselves, just to take a pause. I mean, we're going to do it a little longer, but even just taking a few breaths as an intentional transition from one state of being to the next is really helpful. And so this is called a guided practice. For those that are not comfortable with, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and get still. If you want to go ahead and take your camera off at this point, if you feel comfortable with your eyes closed, that's fine. If not, please, by all means, safety first. So you can go ahead and turn your screens off if you would like. And a guided practice is basically where, at least my interpretation of it is, we're going to get still. You're going to hear my voice on and off for the next few minutes, guiding your attention to different aspects of our experience. There's no wrong way to do this. Whatever happens is information to you, nothing more. If you can feel comfortable silencing your phones so that life will be waiting for you after this few minutes, turning it over, whatever feels good for you or not. And here's what's going to happen. I'm going to make the sound of a bell and you will hear it, and see if you can just pay attention to the sound until it starts to fade away. And then I will continue guiding you with my voice through the remainder of the time. And then the bell will ring again to bring us back into the room. And you can get into a position that feels comfortable, that you can be in for a few minutes, letting your hands, arms rest wherever you feel comfortable, letting your eyes close or gaze down, whatever feels good to you. And we'll get started. So as we bring ourselves into this time, I invite you to feel yourself in the room you are in. Where are you? Name that. I am here. And then bring attention to yourself in your chair, wherever that may be, feeling the weight of your body wherever you're sitting. Just feel that weight. Can you just settle in a little more? Dropping your shoulders, relaxing the muscles in your bottom. Feeling the connection of yourself to the chair, maybe on your back, your legs, your bottom, whatever it may be. I invite you to soften your forehead and your jaw. And then bring your attention again to yourself in the chair. And maybe take a few deep breaths here, breathing all the way in and all the way out. With each breath, feel your body feeling more weighted. If thoughts come into your mind, if your mind begins to wander or plan or worry, that's okay. Just notice it. Come back to the feeling of yourself in your chair, weighted down, gravity holding you in place. And start to notice the natural breath. Maybe you feel your breath in your nose or your chest or your belly. Wherever you feel it, bring your attention there. Just connecting with our breath. And if you can notice, as you breathe in your nose, the cold air around your nostrils, following your breath with your attention all the way in, feeling that cold air sensation, noticing the pause, and then breathing all the way out of your nose with more neutral or warm air. Can you follow that for 5 breaths? And now for the remainder of the time until the bell rings, just let your mind go wherever it goes. No judgment, just with kind curiosity, notice what you're thinking about or focusing on. And when the bell rings, we'll come back in the room. Raise your hand if you got sleepy. Nice. All right, we're going to do a little reflection on this experience. I think it's important to not just have this experience and then move on to the next thing. I believe in slow PD, and so we're going to slow roll in this experience. So here's what I'd like you to do. Can you just post the first question, Erin? Just click on the first question. So what came up for you during this time? And I'd like to invite you to write it down. Whatever happened, whether it was difficult or easy, what were thoughts, what were feelings, sensations, just get it all down for like a minute or two. And then we'll do the next part. I'm going to do the same thing. And take about another 30 seconds. All right. I kind of jumped the gun on the 30 seconds. It's like 10 left. How did that happen? That's cool. All right. So friends who are here, I want you to go back and reread your reflection. And the invitation is to circle words or phrases that are in any way related to emotions. Or underline, whatever, just bring attention to any part that was that way around emotions. This is hilarious. Who's doing that? I'm so curious. Thank you. I put a reminder to whoever wrote it.
I do appreciate that.
The reason that I asked you to do the emotions piece is just because I'd like for you to look at your reflection from like an observational standpoint. So like in looking at what you wrote and where you drew attention to emotions, if you had anything related to emotions that came up in your reflection, just kind of spending a few seconds looking at it and wondering and asking yourself, what are you paying attention to? Is this information to you about how you've been feeling lately, or is it just kind of circumstantial to what we did just for the last 5 minutes? And sometimes when we get still, it can serve as information to you about what's alive for you. So just kind of look at it for a second and just think on that. And so what we're going to talk about today is our emotions. And I don't know if there's like maybe one person who would want to unmute themselves and share anything that, came up for them during that time. Is there anyone that maybe can unmute themselves and bravely share? Just one. Don't worry. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Judy, go.
Unmute. So the emotions I've been having is like, this is a typical to-do list Sunday, but it's not typical anymore because the list got a lot longer today, getting ready for Zoom school tomorrow. And I've just been running around like a crazy lady. So I had to quit the crazy stuff. And I had to calm myself down. And I did that through the breathing that you did help me do, and to focus on that long breath and to tell me actually focus on it coming out of your mouth. And then I started really relaxing, and I calmed down, and everything left my mind as far as what I had to do. The to-do list stopped at that moment, and I feel so much calmer. And I almost felt I could have fallen asleep, which that just took, literally I have been running around. I've been taking care of older parents and all kinds of things. So this just calmed me down.
Thank you, Judy. Well, I want to honor too, Judy's experience is a lovely one. And for some of you, maybe you weren't able to calm down or settle down. Maybe your mind was racing the whole time and it was very difficult for you to settle. And I just want to bring up again that this is information to you about maybe the busyness or the stress that is kind of showing up in your world. So just wanted to kind of bring attention to that. I want to talk specifically about emotions in my talk today, which is kind of the next part of our time together. But I'd like to address uncertainty and the unknown. I just want to talk about it for a minute. I like to say that our brain has a lot of jobs. It does two things very well. One, it is like hardwired to find patterns, and two, it is hardwired to keep us safe. And when we are able to find patterns or make sense of something, which is what patterns do for us, it brings learning is easier, listening is easier. We're actually more likely to remember something when we can make sense or find patterns or understanding or answers to something that we're not quite sure about. But when we can't make those patterns or make sense, especially about bigger things in our life, we can become panicked or anxious. And we start to do whatever we can or whatever it takes to find these patterns. And it sort of starts to create like a sense of chaos. An example would be, if we're very worried about, this pandemic that's happening in our world with the coronavirus, with COVID-19, we might start to scroll the internet, all these different things, trying to find answers to our own personal questions, trying to find what we want to hear, what we need to hear. We might just kind of look anywhere and everywhere, unaware of what that's doing to our emotional state. I'm not saying that it's not important to be in the know. I think that there's a good boundary and fine line between like healthy research and just trying to find answers that we may not get. Another example would be in our experience now, like you all are such dedicated educators, and you're trying your best to navigate this online learning, and you might look at 20 different websites that might be helpful to your students, and you're like, I could do this, and I could do that, and I could do this, and then the options become the options are limitless. Let's just say that they're limitless. You could spend hours and hours looking for these things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that this is what happens when we are searching for patterns, when we're searching for making sense of something. And simultaneously, what happens when we're creating this chaos is we're experiencing a heightened sense of pressure and anxiety and frustration when we're doing this multitasking. And you push through it. All of you push through it because you're dedicated, you're amazing educators, you're committed to your staff, you're committed to your students, and you're going to push through that because that's what you feel like you need to do. And this feeling of chaos alongside these emotions kind of starts to tell our brain, I'm in trouble, alert, I'm in trouble, because anxiety can bring about a heart rate going up, stomach pains. It can bring thoughts that are just out of our control. And our brain thinks we're in trouble. So then it starts to send signals out to ourselves, and it impacts our body and our mind. And we go into protective mode. We go into reactive mode. And we tend to lose our ability to control ourselves and our minds. And then the cycle continues. Okay, so this is like a cyclical kind of experience that happens. Not to mention, but I bet there's some guilt involved here, sprinkled into all of this because you're not visible to your students and your colleagues. And this makes you feel like, I have to work all that much harder just to prove to someone that I'm not wasting my time, that I'm not sitting here doing nothing. I need to prove to myself and everyone else that I am here and I'm working. And your guilt and worry. Worry about your kids, where they are. Are they safe? Are they learning? I'm not kind of throwing all of this stuff at you to be like, wow, this is not good. But what I am doing is I'm hopeful that you figured out how this relates to you and your experience by now. And I'm saying all of this, to honor that it's really hard and that there are so many layers to this experience that we're having. It's not just that we're stressed. It's not just that we're worried. It's all of those things stacking up and creating this huge pile of chronic stress. So I think that it's just really important to know that. And I think, to kind of put some positive spin on that, the hard times and how hard this is, that it's hard for everyone. And it looks different for everyone. There are some people who are balancing, homeschooling and work. There are some people who are trying to take care of loved ones that needs care during this time. There are some of us that live alone and are feeling more isolated than ever. There are extroverts out there that are having a really hard time with this isolation. I actually told my husband, Grant, that I think the biggest winners here are tech-savvy introverts. That's what I've decided. I just that's what I think. So if any of you are tech-savvy introverts, I'm an introvert, but I'm not tech-savvy, so there's my challenge. But I'm saying all this to say that we're not alone. You are not alone. There's a lot of common humanity here. I hope that some of you find solace in that. And, we can learn to effectively acknowledge and be more aware of our emotions during this time. We can offer ourselves opportunities to learn how to handle our emotions rather than them handling us. This requires vulnerability. It requires honesty, for you to be honest about what's going on with you and what you're feeling. And that's not easy. Like Erin was saying in the beginning, it's not easy for a lot of us to be vulnerable, to admit to emotions. And this isn't some sort of touchy-feely sort of offering, okay? Emotions happen whether you want them to or not. And whether we acknowledge them intelligently or not, they're going to come up. And if we can learn tools and strategies and build awareness around them, if we can get okay with emotions, it actually makes things easier. I'm not saying it makes things perfect. I'm not saying it makes things happy. I'm saying it makes things easier. And when things are easier, we're less reactive. And we can slow down and prioritize what we can do in a time more productively and effectively when we kind of can regulate ourselves. I've said a lot of heavy things in the last few minutes. And so I just like to invite us all to just, if you are okay, like putting your pencil down for a second and just like close your eyes. We're not going to like do a mindful, just take 3 breaths, just 3 deep breaths. So a deep breath. And if you want to, you're muted, so nobody's going to hear you breathing out. A really important part of a deep calming breath is the out breath. So if you just breathe all the way in your nose, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, and just let it out of your mouth. Even if it sounds like a sigh, that's okay. I'll do it because I'm not afraid to make sounds that are like that. All right.
You hear me too.
Okay. So it's like this. That felt really good. So just a couple of this, if you haven't already. Maybe even take a chair stretch. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I need to stretch. Come on. Nobody, you're going to be watched. You all agreed to this. Don't be afraid. Go across the body. This is good for the brain, left brain, right brain. Maybe we can learn a few things from people in this crew. Look at these people do these stretches. I just cracked my back like crazy. Oh, but that's a good one, Greg. I like that. That feels good right here. Just taking some simple stretches, by the way, really just can re-energize your brain. I feel better. So let's kind of shift into this solution-based part of this talk that I'm giving you. How can we be better for ourselves and others around us? And I've said it already, but part of that is bringing awareness to the fact that this is hard and that we're all feeling that. And the other part is inviting awareness around our own emotions. And when we do that, I also want to add, we are less likely to blame others for what's happening in here. And that feels really good. Great. And I want to say this, I forgot to put my slide in about my choice, Erin, but that's okay. We have a choice here. It's the tale of 2 paths. We can either stay the course of emotional chaos and reactivity, or we can choose another path. Now, this path isn't perfect. We will still react. We will still feel the stress. But maybe just practicing a little bit more awareness and emotional control might get some of ourselves back. And you deserve at least that much to just remember who you are as a human being who deserves peace, who deserves to slow down. You just need to know how to navigate that effectively. And so the invitation today and moving forward is just to notice emotions so that hopefully we can decrease their intensity and see them as information rather than something that's happening to us. And if we can do that, we become more observers of our experience and less caught up in it. And I just cannot stress enough. And I say this a lot. This is just information to you. It doesn't have to be happening to you. It doesn't have to be the tornado inside of you. That tornado is there. It could just be out here and you can relate to it rather than having it control you. And I hope that makes sense. So let's get empowered. We're going to do a practice today. I'm going to give you like 3 little takeaways. But we're going to do one today that I know several people on this call, it's their favorite thing. It's called a body scan. This is a great practice for when you have a few moments to sit and like check in. Okay. So what we're going to practice today takes time. It's great for sleep. What it is it's a trip from your head to your toes, noticing sensations in the body and seeing if we can release possible tension and relax a little bit. Once we're done with this scan, I will talk about how we can actually modify this practice to be more applicable in real time when difficult emotions arise. So this body scan is not like if you're really angry and you're like interacting with somebody, I don't know that it's appropriate for you to be like, excuse me for 1 second. I just got to sit here like a 2-minute body scan and then like go back. I don't know, maybe you do. But I am gonna talk about how to modify it. It's called sensational breathing. How to modify it to really help with awareness of emotions. But we're going to practice the body scan. I think it's really important to understand the full experience so that you can understand how the modification works. So we're going to do that. So once again, if you feel comfortable to close your eyes, or I'm sorry, to take off your screen. If you want, because we will be closing our eyes and inviting relaxation for just a few minutes. So yeah, without further ado, if you can just find a space that feels comfortable for you, you can turn your screens off if you'd like. You can close your eyes if you'd like. You can gaze down if that feels more comfortable to you. And again, I will do a guided practice. Let's just start with some silence, though. Maybe even listening to the sounds around you. And as we're getting still and settled in this time, I'd like to invite you to notice your forehead. Can you soften it? Relaxing our eyes. If your tongue is attached to the roof of your mouth, can you drop it down? Letting that relaxation happen there. Noticing your jaw. We hold a lot of tension there. Can you just breathe into it? Let it release. Noticing your shoulders. What sensations you feel there. Tightness. Maybe the shirt you're wearing. Maybe nothing at all. Can you drop them down a little bit more? And feeling the weight of your arms wherever they lie. Noticing your elbows bent. Your forearms. Bringing attention to your hands, your fingers. Do you notice a tingling sensation or a pulsating sensation? That's blood flow. Can you just pay attention to that and breathe into it? Feeling your back on the chair or sitting up without support. Noticing any sensations there. Softening your belly. Loosening the muscles in your bottom in the chair. Noticing the top of your legs. Feeling the back of your legs on the chair. Knees bent. What sensations do you feel there? Bringing attention to your calves and your ankles, and your feet. Do you feel the weight of your feet wherever they are? On the floor, on the chair, in socks or shoes? Maybe you feel pulsating there too. And for the next few seconds, I invite you to continue to relax your body. Wherever you notice tension, can you breathe into it without reacting to it? Let it be. Breathe into it. See if you can release it a little more. And then shift your attention to 3 breaths. Noticing the cold air going in, the pause, and the neutral or warm air going out. And when you're done, just come back into our virtual room. So coming back to this time, I'm gonna move through this portion a little bit quicker. I think we're about 25 minutes. Erin, yes, I just wanna make sure I'm really honoring some time, okay? If you look on the screen here, this is a map, an body emotions map. This was done by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences here in the United States a while back. They did a study. These are the most common emotions that were identified by the participants. And then they identified where these participants reported out in various ways, where these emotions show up. I want to bring up too about the body scan. If there's anything that you want to know more about the body scan, that you can put that in the chat questions, because for time purposes, I would love to reflect on that. But for time purposes, we'll come back to it. We'll circle back to it on the modified practice. I'm showing this to you because I want you to kind of identify which emotions, maybe 1, maybe 2, have really been alive for you lately. And if you look on the right, I don't know if you can see it fully because of the people on the screen. I wonder if you can move them. Yeah, you can move people to the other side, because if you look, there's a range along the side of yellow indicates a really strong sensation, and the light blue indicates very little sensation. And so I'm saying that to you because as you're identifying an emotion or 2 that have been kind of resonating with you, I'd like to invite you to also think about wherever. So for example, for me personally, I've been experiencing a lot of anxiety. And I notice on the screen, I noticed that you can see that with anxiety, that a lot of the emotions show up in the belly and the chest area. So heart rate going up, but my belly gets tight. And I can see a little bit of activity in the head. So like overthinking, pressure. And so I can identify with that visual of like where the emotions show up in my body. And I'm saying this to you because emotions show up first in our body. It's happened so fast, we don't even notice it a lot of the time, especially if we're just not aware of them to begin with. But just take a second to identify an emotion or two here and ask yourself, like, can you relate to where the emotions show up according to this study? Are there other places on your body where these emotions show up? Because this is like one of the ways to build awareness around particularly difficult emotions. This is going to feel silly, what I'm about to ask you to do, but I like to be silly sometimes. I'm going to ask you to take a moment to draw a stick person. So if you chose one emotion from the map, then you draw one stick person. If you chose two emotions from the map, then you're going to draw two. My kids do this too. I have children do this too, but I think it's really helpful for adults too. So I chose anxiety. And here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to X. Don't be scared to draw a picture for your awareness and understanding, friends. I'd like you to draw an X on the places on the stick person body where you feel, where you feel the anxiety the most, and then label it. So I'm going to show you mine. I'm actually really embarrassed because I don't know how to spell nauseous. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to put sick to my stomach because I just freaked out. I don't think I really am good at that. All right, look here. Do you see my little stick person? I'm not a great drawer, but there's, oh yeah, Erin, can you make it bigger? So there's my little stick person with my belly, and I labeled, tight stomach. And then I crossed out nauseous because I didn't know how to spell it, and I wrote sick to my stomach. So just take like 30 seconds to do that, maybe 20. As I'm doing this, I'm realizing that I have a lot of physical responses to anxiety. Look at my picture. Where am I not having a situation? I didn't do this ahead of time because I wanted to be like organic here and authentic. So this is like truly, this is new information. I had my kids do it, but seriously. Okay, so I'm asking you to do this for this reason. I want you to see on a personal level, like looking at the map is one thing, right? And seeing what a study can tell you. But this is what this tells you for you personally. So this is where I'm going to insert this idea of sensational breathing, okay? The circling back to the body scan and the modified version of it. How we can use that strategy in real time when we're feeling like really anxious or really angry. We're noticing those sensations. So here's the practice. The practice is exactly what it's called, breathing into the sensations. And if you remember back to the body scan, I invited you, if you notice tightness in your jaw, breathe into that. If you notice I don't remember where else, I think I said in the shoulders, you notice tightness there, can you breathe into that? So that's what sensational breathing is. So I'm just going to model it for you for time purposes. So I am anxious. I'm not right now, but like if I were, I feel it the most in my belly. Like I literally feel nauseous when I get anxious. My first thought is I don't want to eat, even though I'm not like even thinking about food at the time. So what I do is I have to, first of all, notice the emotion. I'm anxious. Not you're making me anxious. I am anxious. Or this is anxiety. Maybe I don't want it to own me, so I say it that way. How you say things is very important. So this is anxiety. And I just close my eyes, especially when I'm dealing with somebody like my husband, poor man, I'm putting him on the spot here. And I breathe into my belly. And I'm visualizing myself breathing into my belly. And I breathe out. And what it does is it just connects us to our experience without being reactive. It gives us a pause. It doesn't make it easier. It makes it slower. Let me rephrase that. It does make it easier. It just doesn't necessarily change that I'm anxious, but it changes my relationship to the anxiety, and it just slows it down a little bit. So sensational breathing is a really helpful tool. I'm going to give you a few more tools, 2 other ones, and I'm going to give you I'll show it to you on a slide here in a second. But one of the other ones is my favorite. I'm actually speaking on PBS channel tomorrow night about stress management. And this is one of the ones that I'm inviting everybody that's listening to do, and that's Name It to Tame It. I love that. It is so easy. It's just naming an emotion. Again, this takes vulnerability. This takes honesty. This takes you recognizing that emotions and awareness of them is a superpower. It makes you a powerful person in the room to be able to acknowledge and be aware of emotions. And so naming it, this is anxiety, I feel like I was just doing before. Name it to tame it. It takes away its power a little bit more. The other one last one that I want to talk about is the mood check-in. Throughout the day, or even once a day, checking in with your mood is really important. It's even as simple as saying something like, my mood right now is grumpy. My mood right now is neutral, happy, good. I actually have an app, Calm, that does it for me. Every morning, my app literally pings me and says, how are you feeling? Take a minute to check in. And I identify an emoji. And it's been really interesting information to me to see the pattern that I carry in the morning, which is, sometimes it's neutral, but it's either neutral or kind of stressed. It's been very interesting. But it helps me because it helps me set an intention for how I'm going to navigate myself and my family. I want to say this too. So here's Until We Meet Again. These are the 3 things that you can do. If you don't have Calm app, let me tell you another way to do it. You can set alarms. A lot of us have devices that can remind us. We can set reminders, particularly at difficult times of the day. My most difficult times of the day are in the morning and at 4:30 p.m. I don't know why, but those are great times for me to check in with my mood so that I am present to that in a simple way, and I can be more present and careful of me and my family. Or you can just write little sticky notes for reminders. But here's the last piece I want to say before I peace out. Self-discipline. It takes self-discipline. I'm pretty sure this is a character word that we teach students, right? Can I get some nods? Is that true what I'm saying? Okay, because I thought so. So here is your chance to practice what you preach, to embody self-discipline, ultimately, because self-discipline doesn't have to be like, I have to be hard on myself. Self-discipline is consistency. Self-discipline is responsibility for yourself and others to be better. And so this is a tool to add on if you try any of these practices. It takes self-discipline. So that's why reminders, sticky notes, loved ones helping you with this, making it a family activity. That's why it's so important to use what's around you for support. And so I'm going to stop. I feel like I've talked so much. I really want to hear everybody's feedback. We're going to do a quick Q&A if you want, but here's the join me next time. These are all Erin's lovely ideas. She keeps me so organized. Wednesday, March 25th at 3:00 is our first live session. The Zoom meeting ideas on here. Remember, it's recorded, so you can go back. And then our next session is going to be focused on looking for the good. Erin, do you want to say anything before we start Q&A and people can leave if they need to?
Yeah. So Jen, you talked about how you've covered a lot in a short amount of time, and so I get the benefit of being one of your best friends. So I get to hear this a lot, but not everybody gets to have that connection. So by accessing this recording again, you're going to hear it again. You're going to take in a little bit more, right? So you don't have to feel overwhelmed just by hearing this information right now. You can take the piece that you're ready to take in, and then you can sit on it for a while, right? Think about it. Okay, she gave us some action steps, but maybe I'm not in a place where I can remember everything that she said right now. So I'm going to sit on one of those pieces and think about it. And then maybe tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to watch it again. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into it. So just, show yourself some grace to take bites of this at a time.
Well, and my husband gave me feedback. He was like, listen, this is a heavy load. Like your talk about emotions is a lot of information. At the beginning when I was kind of talking about all the things that are difficult, all the layers. And I told him, I was like, it is. And you're right. We could turn this into multiple sessions. But the bottom line is like, I don't want to leave any of those layers out because they are all real. And it did feel like a lot of front loading, I'm sure. Because it felt like that for me and it was good feedback from him. But to dismiss any of those parts of it, I don't feel like it does a service to you to recognize the challenges we're facing. So
I think that the fact that we have this ongoing support now, and we know that, okay, we got the front loading of this information today, we can watch this again and again. And then we can join back in a couple of days and focus on the next session, looking for the good, and just build our knowledge and our understanding of how to process this crazy time and these crazy emotions that we're feeling right now. Pretty amazing. So, thank you for giving us this.
Yeah, that was my next thing. Thank you guys. Hey, Erin, will you take the screen off so we can see everybody? I just want to say to everybody who's here, thank you so much. So we're going to open it up for Q&A if you want to stick around for like a couple of minutes. I know there were some chat conversations, Erin, if we want to bring any of those up. So if you want to stay, you can. If you need to go, please do not feel judged. You do you.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much.
Okay.
Jen, there was, can you tell us just a little bit more about that app? Tell us what it's called again.
Yeah, so the Calm, C-A-L-M, Calm app is actually, they have opened up some free resources during this time for kids and adults. And so you can go and access some of their stuff for free. And it's actually really good stuff. So I highly recommend it. But Calm is an app that you would have to pay for. And but I like it because it has series of things you can do. Informationally, like I love there's different apps for different things. So depending on what you're interested in, if you're just interested in doing sits, like guided practice sits, and then Calm is your place. If you want something that's a little bit more of like a talk and a practice and like interviews and practice, 10% Happier is a really good app. And neither of those are free, but they have free access for now. And you can do a free trial with 10% Happier. A free app that I used I don't know why all these people decided to call me during this time. Everybody knew I was doing this today. And I got more texts, by the way, because I was using my app. I wanted to bring it up using my app with the bells, which is Insight Timer. So INSIGHT Timer. It's free. It's got a lot of great stuff on it. It's overwhelming. And Amanda's sitting here nodding. Yeah, it's overwhelming. But if you search, you just have to kind of be aware of what you want to be able to search. Amanda, is there something you want to add to that? Because I think you're familiar with Insight Timer.
Yeah, once you kind of figure out how to navigate and which different resources on there are for you, I use it for sleep a lot. I don't sleep, and it's a thing that I do enjoy. And so there are a bunch of really good nighttime guided meditations that have really helped. And there are some kind of guided body scan things that will help you kind of ground yourself at night. So once you figure out where the parts that you like are, it is fantastic.
Yeah. It's really great with kids too, because it's like you can do the timer for like 1 minute. I did it for 5 with you all, but 1 minute. Okay. So yeah, what else, Erin? Thank you, Amanda.
Hey, Greg, you mentioned what this practice is reminding you of. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Say that again.
Was I muted? Greg mentioned that this reminds him of some work that he's done, and I was hoping maybe he could talk to us just for a second about that.
I saw that. You're muted, Greg. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, this is very much, and Jennifer and I have talked before. I mean, mindfulness is something I'm very much into. And I also do Reiki I'm a Reiki practitioner, which is all about breathing and focusing on the body and the mind. So doing all this breathing today just kind of reminded me, because I've been very anxious too since all this has happened. And I've forgotten how important it was to stop and breathe. And so all these things I knew, I forgot I knew it. So today was very good. I'm so glad I did this, because you just reminded me of the things I believe and should be practicing every day. So this is very much in line with what I hold it as one of my core values. And I'm very grateful that I did this today with you, because I just remembered, I can survive this. We can survive this. We just got to stop and just take a minute to remember, our strength and our own power.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry.
I just want to honor what Greg's saying, because I think, like, I've been practicing mindfulness for 5 years, and I need reminders. So we all need to it's hard it's so easy to get caught up, right, in the mess. It's so easy to get caught up in the chaos, and we need each other,
right?
We need each other to remember. We
do. This is powerful. Thank you.
Hey, Ryan Burns, you had mentioned something about just the breathing aspect of this. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what you were saying?
Yeah, I guess when stress builds, sometimes your body almost forgets to breathe. I had watched my wife sometimes when she's stressed in her office working, literally gasp and take a big breath. And I'm like, what is wrong? She goes, I don't think I have taken a breath in the last 60 seconds. So being able to do the body scan was able to then let my body take back over the natural breathing patterns, which I think relaxed me from head to toe. So I just thought that was kind of neat. It kind of reminded me that this whole week, I'm sure me and 3,000 other teachers have been catching themselves actually not involuntary breathing, having to say, wow, I need to take a breath, which builds again in your physical ailments that we talked about. Your muscles aren't getting the oxygen, so you start getting sore, and everything just compounds from there. So breathing is so important right now. So that's where I'm at with that. As I forgot to breathe. Hang on. See? Just happened again.
Renee, were you wanting to say something down? Oh, sorry.
A little bit more superficial, but just knowing that an employer, just for us as employees, knowing that our employer is worried about our mental and spiritual well-being, it's a lot. It already takes a lot of the anxiety that we're all experiencing. So these talks somehow have to be maybe advertised more, so that at least, even if we are not able to join every time, we know that our employer is not only worried about us doing what we are required to do, but also about our mental health. And just knowing that, it's very soothing and and comforting.
I think that's incredibly significant. Supporting new teachers is my primary role. And whenever we're recruiting or introducing our teachers to Hamilton County, we always talk about how Hamilton County Schools values their teachers. And I think that this is a prime example of like really showing a tangible piece of how valued our teachers are. I think you're so right. Renee, thank you for bringing that up.